In Kansas, now recognize the gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Westmoreland.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to make a couple of comments about some of the statements that's been made about the delay in this committee and the request for documents. This committee was formed in May, and I don't know if the minority leader didn't appoint the other side's members for 2 or 3 weeks. But we had to staff up. Both sides had to hire staff. Then once we hired the staff, they had to get security clearance, which Mr. Higgins and Mr. Pompeo alluded to. We had a retired 3-star general that applied for clearance last September. And I think he got it last Thursday. Now, if that's not dragging your feet, I don't know what it is, but I don't know why we would have wanted all these documents, 40,000 pages of documents, if we didn't have staff cleared to read them. I mean, we member of Congress, I know y'all don't think we do much, but, you know, for us reading 40,000 pages of documents, that's what the staff's for. And so just in the amount of time it took to staff up to find the right people from both sides of the aisle, and then to get their security clearance, I think everybody needs to understand, took a while. And then as far as the delay, you know, I think the delay has come from our chairman being too bipartisan. I know there was hours, if not a couple of days, spent on arguing about how much time each member would get. And I think the minority wanted it down to 9 minutes and 20 seconds each, the way this thing was deliberated. And so we have to spend a couple of days arguing about, you know, 40 seconds or 20 seconds or whatever it is. You're not going to get very far. And as far as us being in the majority, I think the president said in 2009, elections have consequences. As Mr. Pompeo said, he and I both sat on the Intelligence Committee, and reading the resolution that was put before the House, we have those same authorities as the Intel Committee. Mr. Higgins, would you agree with that?
The resolution does carve this committee into House Rule 10, which establishes the Intelligence Committee's authorities over intelligence sources and methods.
So you will give this committee the same respect that you would HPSI in any request for documents or witnesses that they might request?
I'd be happy in a classified setting to discuss the materials that CIA has provided, as well as the limited set of redactions that we are implementing pursuant to conversations with this committee staff directors.
Okay. And 40,000 pages came from the State Department, and Mr. Rubin mentioned that there were a lot of, talking about redaction, there was a lot of other agencies, I guess, that had to look at what was in there as far as redacting the information. When the CIA received this, were there any redactions already done?
We had a team that we sent down to the State Department to review. These are materials that had previously been produced in part in unclassified form with redactions. We sent a team down to review the redactions, see which redactions could be lifted. As Mr. Rubin indicated, the documents are now less redacted than they were previously, in part because other agencies like CIA lifted their redactions. Again, any remaining redactions that are CIA redactions are pursuant to discussions that we've had with the staff directors here.
So is the CIA the only redactions that are there now?
I can't speak to that, sir, I'm afraid. I'm not sure which other
Mr.
agencies.
Rubin, is that the documents, the 40,000 pages, only the CIA redactions?
So the different agencies that have redacted in different areas cut across the entire interagency is all.
Do we know
agencies involved in foreign policy? I'm sorry, sir.
No, I'm sorry. Do we know what agencies redacted what parts of?
We'd be happy to meet with your staff to go over specific documents to identify where those redactions came from.
Okay, but you know where they came from, the redactions, and why they're there, right?
Again, if another agency did it, we would engage with the committee staff and with that agency to help figure that out.
So by sending this to the CIA, and I'm assuming that the CIA had, unlike the State Department, had some people specifically set up looking at these Benghazi documents?
Between our Office of Congressional Affairs and our Office of General Counsel, we have people that we have designated to review Benghazi-related documents. So we actually sent people to the State Department. They didn't send the documents.
Okay, so you send them to the State Department rather than the State Department sending you over some documents and you looking at it. You actually send folks over to the State Department.
That's correct.
That's correct. Now, and I'm assuming that for both the Intel Committee and this committee, that the redactions you make are for methods and sources. Is that correct?
That's correct. Again, I'd be happy to provide more detail in a different setting. We've discussed that with the staff directors from both sides.
Okay. But so do you think that the State Department shares emails between employees that would have methods and sources in it?
There may be times that emails in the State Department's possession do include CIA information that would speak to intelligence sources and methods.
Between employees?
Or between, say...
So the State Department feels like there are employees that can see methods and operations that members of Congress can't see?
I can't speak as to...
Mr. Rubin, I'll ask you that question. Is there emails between State Department employees that disclose methods and operations and stuff that they can see that members of Congress can't see?
In terms of communicating with other agencies, we have classified communication systems that are part of the daily operations on our foreign policy, broadly speaking, and national security. So certainly, State, we communicate with all relevant agencies who are engaged in national security.
Yeah. Well, I know that Mr. Higgins testified that all of our facilities have been secured and certified by the CIA. I guess that they're secure, and I think most of the members have top security clearance. And so are you saying that the State Department employees just send these emails back and forth over something and that we shouldn't be seeing that?
No, sir. Related to the document requests and the 40,000 pages of documents that you have, there are some classified documents, there are some unclassified documents, and
what
that's
would be
what we've provided.
Considered classified from another agency that members of Congress would not need to see?
There's a process for determining when information is classified, as well as to what level. I can't speak in
Okay.
total specificity, but generally, when communications are classified between agencies or within agencies, that type of information, as related to the document request, we're also seeking.
So is the CIA the last agency to get the redactions to say what needs to be lifted and what doesn't?
I believe the process is that we've gone to agencies who are relevant to these documents and asked for review.
But Mr. Higgins said they lifted some of the redactions.
Yes, and we as well, in an agreement with the committee several months ago, also agreed with the committee's desire to have minimal redactions, and so we went back over these 40,000 documents and minimized the redactions.
You know, there was an outside group prior to this committee being formed that had a Freedom of Information Act and got some information, I believe it was from the State Department, with no redactions. And as a member of the Intel Committee, we had gotten the same information redacted. Now, would it be easier for this committee or to have better information if we go through the Freedom of Information Act rather than requesting it from y'all?
Well, my understanding is that we received 18,000 FOIA requests last calendar year. So I
but they got theirs a little quicker.
It's significant.
They got theirs quicker than we got ours with no redactions.
And this is in part and parcel in our cooperative working relationship with the committee, is to provide these documents with minimal redactions. Many of the categories that